It turns out you guys were correct. The season is good. Whatever. Whatever. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Queenie. For those who don't know me, reviewing Love is Blind Sweden season 4 episodes 1 to 4. Before I get into it, please make sure to like this video, subscribe, hit the bell, hype up the video, and leave a comment down below. I cannot believe Sweden is on season 3. I feel like we just started with Sweden like 2 days ago and now we're on season 3. Oh my gosh, they grow up so fast. So the new episodes drop tomorrow, which is Thursday. Can't guarantee that I will also drop tomorrow on Thursday, but we are going live, so maybe we could talk about Love is Blind Sweden so far. Y'all don't give me spoilers or I'll crash out. Please, please, please don't do that. Alternatively, we don't talk about it and then we can talk about it maybe like next week or something during a live if we just want to have something more fluid. But I will plan to drop 2 episodes on Friday and then 2 more episodes maybe on Sunday. We'll see how things go, just to make sure we're all on the same page, you know? So getting into the cast, we meet Aaron. Aaron is a whopping 6 feet 8 inches. The man is stacked. He is so big. Wow. Big dog, okay? He says his appearance leads him to be misunderstood often, and he's tired of being put in a box. So naturally, he put himself in a pod, but neither here nor there. He has a conversation with Angelica. They bond over different aspirations they have in life. They're both eager to be parents, which is great. She says she wants somebody who's emotionally in tune, and he says that he is prone to crying during a Disney movie, which she absolutely loves. I love that too. I love a sensitive soul. So they are forming a strong bond. Or can I say strong? A bond. Next, we meet Fabian. I'm going to go with Fabian for now. This man is extremely nervous. It's like he's always on the brink of a nervous breakdown. That's going to be important as we're watching this season. The man is just, nerves on 10. So you would think he's confident because he's done so much solo travel. He's been all around the world on his own, doing amazing things worldwide. But for some reason, when it comes to love, he's just debilitated, which is interesting. But anyways, he says he's an old-fashioned guy. He likes to pursue a woman with a nice dinner and some flowers. He's on a date with Ellen, who 100% appreciates that because although she's often seen as somebody who's a bit over the top, she does like a guy who is intentional. She does not accept the bare minimum. Ellen also goes on a date with Daniel. Now, Daniel has put her at number 1. The only issue that Ellen is having is that Daniel is quite surface level, right? So she's trying to get into him a little bit more, understand him a little bit more. And he says what he values is common sense. All right. Okay. They then talk about different interests in life, and he says that he is a Toastmaster, but he's kind of tired of it because he's always, at these weddings and I'm assuming a Toastmaster is like an MC. He's tired of emceeing these weddings and not being a part of his own wedding. He's also tired of sitting at the singles table and being bored by all these boring singles. Funnily enough, he's in these pods boring every single woman about his stories about being a Toastmaster, this brewery that he co-owns with his brother, the fact that he sells fragrances, and his love for Australia. He is boring the women, but he's tired of being around boring people. Ain't that something? He has a connection with Joanna, who is living in Australia. She currently lives in Sydney, and that's something that they bond over because Daniel feels like the only place he truly feels at home is in Australia. Now, Joanna is a little concerned because a lot of the guys are ruling her out because she lives in Australia. As much as she loves Sydney, she appreciates Sweden because the men are just more intentional. Or so she thought. The men just seem more serious and ready to settle down. While Joanna is intrigued by Daniel, she also has a connection with Ibrahim. I don't quite remember what they spoke about, but I do remember him being very nervous. He even called her Jessica. I said, ooh, not a good look when you call somebody the wrong name, but she just laughs it off. She's like, it's not that big of a deal, honestly. You do seem sincere outside of not remembering my name, right? She didn't say that. That's me saying it. So Ibrahim also has a connection. It's gonna come together, guys. Just Hold on. Ibrahim also has a connection with somebody named Anelia. They connect on a music. She loves music. She works at a record store and she actually composes music of her own. It's interesting to see the difference between Ibrahim's date with Anelia compared to Joanna, because with Joanna, it's like he was stumbling over his words. He couldn't really find his footing with her. But with Anelia, he's like, oh, I'm so sorry that I'm a yapper. He just kept going and going and going. And she was like, oh, it's okay. I'm the same too. So he got really comfortable with Anelia, whereas something with Joanna just wasn't clicking. Another guy who's struggling to connect with the women is Lars Eric. So he is a devout Christian. And as he's in these pods with these women, he's making it very clear that he's very serious about his faith. He doesn't really, can I say he doesn't appreciate? No, that's not the words. He takes issue with sexually liberated women because he feels like, your body is a temple and you're not supposed to give out your body so much to so many people. And naturally that would put a lot of people off, especially if they are also not Christian, right? Somebody who is Christian is Danette. She is very intrigued by this man here. She's like, oh, I'm a Christian. You're a Christian. We have the same values. And I think that's the only thing they connected on. I couldn't think of anything outside of the fact that they were both Christian. So that's interesting. And as much as this man is harping on about his Christianity, he ends up connecting with Ronya. She's not a Christian at all. She has no interest in being religious whatsoever. But for some reason, they have this bond, right? So he's like, oh, she's just so fun-loving and she makes me excited. And maybe this is God testing me. Oh. Is that God testing you, or are you just bending the rules to make something work? I don't know. So now we're starting to get some couples forming. There are a lot of love triangles, but some are straightforward, like Aaron and Angelica. So in their next date, they talk about how much they love physical affection. They love to kiss and cuddle. And Aaron says he's excited to do a little bit more than just that, which makes Angelica a little bashful, but he decides to keep it cute. He wasn't being too explicit, which we love, right? So then he talks about his expectations in a relationship. He wants somebody who's going to be open to his life that he's currently building, right? So he used to play basketball and now he's trying to form a business, but the business has yet to take off. So he needs somebody who's going to be understanding of that, who's going to be supportive of the business, and who's willing to live abroad for a little bit while he manages the business until it's able to run on its own, right? So at first, Angelica says she's okay with that. She's willing to support her partner as long as her partner is going to encourage her back. However, when she's in her confessional, she says, actually, I would have preferred somebody who's a bit more established in life. I wanted to come in and just fall easily into somebody's life instead of helping somebody build from the ground up, which I can understand, right? I do understand that. In their next date, she goes and she tells him, you know what, now that I've thought about it, I think maybe it is important for me to find somebody who has their ducks in a row. And he says, okay, I do acknowledge that I don't have everything together. I don't have the house, the car, the dog, all the stereotypical stuff, but I'm asking you to take a leap of faith. Sweetie, I don't know you. What are you talking about? Like, don't get me wrong. The experiment itself is a leap of faith, but like, you're basically telling me that I have to attach myself on the whim that your business is going to work out. And if it doesn't, then what do we do? Because you're no longer playing basketball. Your business hasn't worked out. What's the plan here? I think that was a crazy thing to say. But she's like, yeah, you know what? I'm willing to take the leap. I said, oh, okay. What gave Angelica a bit of reassurance was the fact that Aaron said he is not the person who's going to put the business above his family. So if the business is failing, he's not just going to throw everything at the business to make sure it survives, especially if it's at the expense of his family. He unfortunately had to experience that with his own family. His dad was an artist, and unfortunately, his dad took his artistry more serious than he took being a dad. So unfortunately, they had to live like a impoverished life because the dad was just worried about where his career was going instead of worried about nurturing his family. It also was a very stark difference between the life he lived when he was with his mom. With his mom, they had a regular life, but with his dad, it was like, they were scrounging for scraps. So yeah, that really imprinted on his mind. And he said he would never put his kids or his family in that same position, which is great. Then as people are solidifying their connections, somebody comes into the women's quarters and they're like, oh my gosh, like we're going to be together. And Angelica starts freaking out because she feels like that person was referring to Aaron, right? So she goes into the date with Aaron and she's like, I know that I've been a little like wishy-washy or a little bit non-committal because of your situation. But after I saw somebody come in being very happy about their connection, I realized I don't want to let you go. So I'm letting you know from now that I am all in on you. She says that she's aware that he's not living the life that she would have imagined her spouse would be living. However, she does appreciate the fact that he is calm and gives her safety. Now, this is where Aaron says something that was quite peculiar to me. He says that he has a tendency to be seen as aggressive no matter what he does, no matter how he presents himself, because of the way that he looks. And I thought that was interesting because he's trying to relate it to the fact that he's this, giant. He sees himself as a gentle giant, but he's just like, yeah, because of my appearance, people just think that I'm, big, scary. I'm assuming somewhat black. Like, I think he's mixed race. I don't know. But big, scary man. The issue that I have with that is people who are often seen as one thing, there's a reason. A lot of people find you to be aggressive. If you're just a big dude, like, that's not an exact correlation. There's a lot of big people who just look like, big softies, big teddy bears, just a gentle giant. But for you, people see you as aggressive. I don't know. There might be something there that Angelica needs to pay attention to, but he makes it seem like it's just the height or just his size. She didn't know he was 6'8", by the way. So this is her first time discovering that. So she's like, oh, okay. All right. He asks her if the height is going to be an issue. She's like, no, not a problem. During their next date, he ends up proposing. She says yes, right? At the reveal, this lady starts having a panic attack. She's hyperventilating, she's crying, she's fanning herself, she can't even open her eyes. Once she walks closer to Aaron, she's crying in his arms. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like what's going on? But then she turns around and she's like, oh my gosh, like you're so beautiful. I'm so happy to be with you, whatever. I'm thinking, well, girl, what the hell was that? But then again, I have to take a step back and realize this might be one of the more authentic reactions because reality is setting in that you said yes to a proposal from a complete stranger. You do not know what this person looks like. You are not going to have to play happy family with somebody for a handful of weeks and then decide to marry them legally. Like, this is a lot. So, you know what? I will allow her mini panic attack. She says that he is so beautiful. He agrees that she is so beautiful. He literally just cannot fathom the fact that he's with her. He's like, you are gorgeous. So safe to say they are very pleased with what they have seen at the reveal. So yeah, we'll see where things go with this couple. The next love triangle we have is Lewig, Hannah, and Camila. So Lewig has ADHD. We don't know this right away, but you can pretty much tell. He struggles to focus. When he's on these dates with these women, he's doing everything but talk to this woman or pay attention to what she's saying. He then says he is a relationship guy. He misses being in a relationship. And I'm thinking, I would love to hear from that girl because the way this man can't focus for a minute, it must have been hard to deal with him like on a serious level. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying that people with ADHD can't be in relationships. Obviously, damn near everybody I know has ADHD, like properly diagnosed. But the way that he was really, really, really struggling on these dates, I was thinking, how would a relationship work? But he says he's a relationship guy, so cool. He ends up connecting with two women, Hannah and Camila. Both women are aware of the connection, and one of the days happened to be his birthday, so they baked a cake for him. He was appreciative to both women. He lets Hannah know that he does have ADHD, and she says that that's not an issue for her. They then talk about their other interests. He's more sporty. He likes, football, and he likes doing stuff, but not necessarily like outdoorsy stuff. She is very outdoorsy. And so she's trying to get him on side. And he's like, you know what? You make outdoors seem very fun. So cool. I'm down with the get down. On his date with Camila, he's curious to know more about her relationship history. She says there is no history. If we are to be together, you would be the first boyfriend, fiance, and husband. So he's like, oh, okay. She was worried that people would write her off because of it. And some people did, but he says that it's not a concern. He's still intrigued to get to know her more, especially because he feels like the vulnerability is not quite there yet, but he thinks there's a chance. There's a chance for her to grow in that area. In their next dates, both women received a gift from Lewig, and this is a problem because he gave off the impression that getting a gift would set you apart. Getting a gift means that you're special. You're my number one. He didn't explicitly say that, but that's the vibe he gave the women. So when both women go back to the women's quarters and they realize they both got gifts, they're like, wait, what the hell? What the hell? So the one who's more offended is Hannah. She goes back into the pods and she's like, why would you give us both gifts? Like, I thought we were building something strong here. And I do understand that, like, you're getting further into the process. You're giving something to me that's supposed to be sentimental. How am I supposed to feel about you doing the same with your other connection? It doesn't make me feel special. It doesn't differentiate me from anybody else. Like, even the women were saying, I feel like we are now with, they said they feel like they are with a kid, somebody who's just easily excited and cannot make decisions, right? So he was trying to, quell her concerns to be like, well, I didn't really think it was that deep. I was just trying to show you another piece of myself. So she accepts, but she's still a little bit irritated. He goes into his date with Camila thinking that she too is going to give him the business, but she says, I'm honestly not too bothered. I'm just happy to be here. They end up making drinks, or was theirs the wine tasting? There was one couple that did a wine tasting. The point is, she's not pressed. So he's realizing, Hannah was at my top because she's able to be more expressive. She's able to be more vulnerable. But the fact that she got so irritated by what I did and Camila was more chill, Camila is now going to take the lead. Can you imagine that's all it took? So he then goes into a date with Hannah and he says, yeah, it's not gonna work. All because she was offended at the fact that he didn't make her feel special. Can you, I'm sorry, that's just wild to me. He then goes back to Camila and proposes to her. She is over the moon because this is her first time that she's been somebody's first choice, right? So fast forward to the reveal. So much for being first choice because homegirl looked so uncomfortable to me. To me, she did. It didn't seem like they had much chemistry, to be honest. Even their kisses were like little bird pecks. It was just weird. It was awkward. He says that he's just enthralled. She's gorgeous, and she is. He's just very taken by her beauty, and she's like, I'm trying to run. But she says it's because she's not used to the reality of her actually being the chosen one. Her personality is, I'm the single girl, and now I have to think about being a married girl, and that's just, a new concept for her. No, I think you don't like the man. You just don't want to say that. The next love triangle we have is Lars Eric, Danette, and Rania. So Lars Eric is on a date with Danette. There's so many people. And they talk about how important it is to be with somebody who is also a person of faith, right? They think that when you are in a partnership, you should be on the same moral ground, which is true. I think you should have one, am I just exposing my own relationship? I think you should have one person who's just a little more unhinged, just a smidge. And by the way, before y'all come for me, it's not me, it's that man. Anyways, Lars Eric talks about how he became more of a devout Christian. He was raised in a Christian household by his mother, but unfortunately, just as time went on, he just strayed further and further away from Christianity. When his mom was getting sick, he got a bit closer to God. And when she passed away, it, revived that fervor for Christ in him. And he then became a devout Christian. So it's now 3 years of him being a devout Christian. Danette says she can relate because when her brother was sick, she was his primary caretaker. And that whole experience allowed her to also get closer to God. And as much as it's so important for Lars Eric to be with somebody who is a Christian, here he is connecting with Rania, who is not religious at all. She also takes issue with how Lars Eric speaks about his Christianity and how he holds himself. So he is celibate. He's abstinent. I hate that people mix it up, but he's abstinent, okay? And he's been like this for years now. And the way that he talks about his abstinence, she feels is very judgmental. He counters that and he's like, no, I'm not judgmental at all. My best friend is gay and he talks about sex all the time. You are still judgmental though. Like the way in which he speaks comes across judgy. And I don't think that he's aware of how his speech comes across. And that's a normal thing, especially with newer Christians. They do tend to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Just saying. So she too lost her mother. I think it was 5 years ago. So she says that they do have that relation. Like they understand what it is to lose a mom and how that changes your worldview and stuff like that. But this big fundamental difference, they're glossing over it. I think it is going to be an issue, the fact that he's so big on Christ right now, and she wants nothing to do with that. Lars Eric is now at a crossroads because he doesn't know if he should go for Donette because they have this, Christian connection, or if he should go with Rania because they have a more fun connection. And I'm thinking, okay, and as much as it's good to go for somebody who you have fun with, your fundamental beliefs, your core values should be aligned. They're not aligned with Rania. And I'm not saying he should be with Donette, but don't be with Rania. Like, at the very least, don't be with Rania. If he was more indifferent about Christianity, then fine, but he's so gung-ho, and that's going to be a problem. So Donette goes into their date and she says, you know what? I've narrowed in my options. You are the only one for me. And you're also not going to be disappointed when, you see me in person. Now I was thinking, this is very bold of you, Donette. Very bold, but she is beautiful. And he doesn't really know what she looks like, but he at the very least knows that she's African, because one of the other contestants was like, oh yeah, I know that she's an African beauty. So he's aware of that, but that's about it. But she's very confident that he's gonna like what he sees. When she reports back to the women about how good her date went, she slips up and says Lars Eric is the person she was on a date with. Rania is not happy about this. She wanted no inclination on who her competition was. So now she's going back into the pause and she's almost like fighting for her spot here. She's like, listen, I have a very strong connection with you. I haven't felt anything like this before. This is a connection that only comes once in a lifetime. I think that we should, make some work. And sure enough, he's like, cool. So he ends up ending things with Donette. He proposes to Rania and she says yes. He says that throughout this process, he's been praying about who he should choose. And although he didn't get a clear answer from God, he feels like the right choice was Rania. You believe that God wanted you to be unequally yoked in marriage? Does that make sense? Okay, interesting. He then has a boys' prayer huddle after the proposal, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I can see why people look at Christians like we are crazy, because here's this man making it seem like Christianity is his absolute truth, but now he's acting in a way that doesn't even align with that in terms of who he's looking for in partnership. So I'm just like, yeah, you do come across a little bit delusional, I'll be so honest. At the reveal, Lars Eric stops Rania in her tracks. And he says, by the way, I haven't kissed anybody in a long time. It's actually been years. And you're going to be the last person I ever kiss. Oh my gosh. You're going to be the last person I ever kiss. But before I do that, I need you to read this note, okay? All we hear from the note is, I love you. There's more to the note. We'll hear about it later on the honeymoon. So he gets on one knee, he proposes. She says yes, obviously, because she already said yes. And he finally kisses her. They just don't connect to me. She says that he's so beautiful and he says it back to her, but something about them feels disjointed. I literally wrote down, this couple cringes me out so bad. I feel like she's going to be unfulfilled in this relationship. I said that just from the reveal. That's the feeling that I got. Remember that as we go on in this episode, right? So when they get back to their holding spaces, he says that he might be a bit clingy. He acknowledges this about himself. This is going to be news to Rania. And Rania says she needs a moment to settle into her emotions. I don't know about y'all, but that sounds to me like she don't like him like that. The next love triangle we have is between Ibrahim, Anelia, and Joanna. Like I said earlier, Joanna was scared that people were going to write her off because she lives in Australia, but Ibrahim is still holding on for the moment, right? So she opens up about being a hopeless romantic due to the relationship she witnessed her parents have. Even after all these years, they are still very lovey-dovey. They're very sweet to each other, and she wants to emulate that with her partner, right? Ibrahim loves hearing that. He came into the process being very skeptical that he would find somebody. So he's shocked that not only does he have one connection, he actually has two. So with Anelia, he loves the fact that she has this zest for life, right? She says that she's built some furniture in her home by herself. She is taking boxing classes, and she's currently learning how to pole dance. Ibrahim has an interesting life himself. He says that he co-wrote a book with a Nobel Nobel Peace Prize winner. And I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. What's the book about? And who's the person? I thought that was interesting. But he says that he does have a little bit of a bad side to him. He can be stubborn. And Anelia's like, that's fine. I'm stubborn too. And this man is like, wow, she's my dream girl. Okay, cool. At this point, he starts zeroing in on Anelia, but Anelia, she's playing the field still. She has a lot of options. She's keeping all of them open. This girl is so geeked when she's on these dates. I'm thinking, wow, is she going to be very non-committal? Like, I don't know what's going on. And we also don't know how far into the process this was. So I'm not sure if this was day one or if this really was like late into the process. So at this point, Ibrahim is like, well, I think I'm going to settle on Anelia, even though she has yet to settle in on me. So unfortunately, he has to cut Joanna off. He basically tells her that she peaked at number 2. Why would you say that? Like, why would you say that? Anyways, one thing led to another. Him and Anelia got so close that she cut off all her other connections. I don't remember exactly what happened. Oh, she loves the fact that he's a doctor and that he's okay with moving to Stockholm in spite of his busy schedule. So that bumped him up to number 1. So Anelia left her date so inspired that she went and she wrote a song for this man. And I gotta say, the song was actually nice.
I spent last night thinking about the shape of your lips. When it comes to us, I'll never need any space. Oh, darling, wishing you were here right now. I spent last night thinking about your arms around my waist. How they smile towards me, how they feel to be kissed. Oh, darling, wishing you would be here now. It was blind.
If these two end up getting married, I'm going to need them to play the song at the reception. How sweet would that be? Oh my gosh. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not the type of person to like write my feelings down and all that kind of stuff. But if I'm going to write a song about you, that means I don't play about you. So I believe that this girl really likes this man. Ibrahim said that he wasn't yet ready to propose to anybody, but he was just so inspired by this that he ended up proposing to her. And she said yes. So fast forward to the reveal. They actually had a really good chemistry. She was very tactile, which is often a good sign from the woman's perspective. They do reiterate that they love each other. And though she was taken off guard by the bald head, she can see herself marrying him. The last little love triangle, but this one is more of a square, is between Fabian, Daniel, Ellen, and Joanna. Okay. So Ellen is trying to find a deep connection in the pods, right? So she's asking the men, what things in your life have shaped you? While she's on a date with Fabian, he talks about the fact that he lost his parents at 18 years old. This was a very tragic accident, and he literally would anticipate seeing them when he was out on the town or something, and he could not reconcile the fact that they had passed away. So he decided to backpack around the world because he just needed to go away. And wherever he would go, he would help with different like relief organizations. And so he took his tragic experience as an opportunity to help other people who have faced tragedy. Wow. Like, that's so beautiful, right? When she goes on a date with Daniel is like, I don't really have anything tragic to talk about. I've never gone through anything, traumatic. So yeah, life's good. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, I asked what shaped you. I didn't ask about anything that was tragic. Why did this man then goes on a tirade talking about, well, I don't think that it's fair that I've never gone through anything traumatic and you obviously just want somebody to therapize. You want to fix somebody and I'm just not that kind of person. And I'm thinking, well, God forbid this woman doesn't want to only talk about your beers at your brewery, your perfumes that you sell, and the fact that you're a Toastmaster and your love for Australia. Like, there's got to be more than that. There's got to be more. So then he's trying to make the comparison that trauma means depth. So he's saying, if you were to go on a date with somebody who had this big traumatic story, and then I come in after and I don't share anything that's super tragic, aren't you going to say that you have a deeper connection with the person who shared the trauma? And she's like, no, not necessarily. And he's like, no, that's not true. You would think that that connection is deeper. That's not true. You could think, okay, wow, this person was able to be vulnerable with me and I do appreciate that experience. But you could also say this person is trauma dumping on me and that's concerning learning. But because this man just lacks depth, he took the fact that she wasn't okay with his surface level as a personal attack. And I'm thinking, you're struggling to find what has shaped you in life. You're 40 years old. I think he's 40. If he's not 40, he's touching it. And you can't think of anything in life that shaped you into the man that you are today. Like, no, don't be upset that you lack depth in life and this girl is looking for more than just surface level. Now that Joanna has been sacked by Ibrahim, she's realizing that she had a connection with Daniel. She was just a little bit deterred because of his big personality. The other women encouraged her to go pursue that again. Like, listen, you have so much time left in the pods, don't go home just yet. So when she goes back into the pods, she realizes that their love for Australia is, so exciting. And they talk about growing old in Australia and living off the vineyard or whatever. And this gets her excited about the connection. He too was like, wow, I thought that I would have offended you in the past. And she's like, no, you don't offend me. I'm not easily shaken. She then says when she's looking for a partner, she asks herself 4 questions. Does he make me laugh? Can I see him as the father of my kids? Can I talk to him about everything? And does he make me a better person? When Daniel reflects on her questions, he's like, wow, yeah, it is really important for you to be with somebody who's able to make you a better person. I think that when you ask yourself these questions, it really enforces the idea of, strong partnerships. Like, you should be able to be vulnerable with somebody. You should be able to see them as the parents to your children, all these things. Interesting how he can understand the concept of depth when he's talking to Joanna, but when Ellen says it, it's just this, this foreign concept. They both say that they're not religious, which is good for Daniel because he had an issue with people talking about religion and politics. He doesn't care about that stuff. He says, although he doesn't care for religion, he wouldn't mind getting married in a church. She says she actually would rather get married like at a beach or at a night, anywhere else. And he's like, okay, that's fine with me. She used to be a wedding planner. He used to be a Toastmaster, as we know. And so they both share that they are tired of being at other people's weddings and they want to be at their own wedding. And as much as Daniel didn't appreciate how Ellen approached their last date, and he literally called her, he literally said that she had a savior complex, he wants to see if there's still something there. And she entertains a conversation with him, but she comes to the realization that her connection with Fabian is just stronger. So then in their next date, she wants to end things with Daniel. Why is this man going to say, oh no, the feeling is mutual? Mind you, on the last date, he said to Ellen, you are my number one. You've always been my number one. And I want you to remember that. But now that he's being dumped, he's like, actually, you've been eclipsed by my other connection. We know that's Joanna. And in his confessional, he says, whenever I close my eyes and I think of the person I see my life with, I only see Joanna. I don't see anybody else. This man is actually like tapped. Like he's a little bit unhinged, He goes back to the men's quarters and he's like, yeah, I just wanted to give her space to sort out her feelings. And we mutually decided that it just wasn't going to work between us. It wasn't a mutual decision. She already sorted her feelings out and she decided that you weren't the man for her. Are you okay? Anyways, Fabian is now stressed because he's like, oh my gosh, like, is she going to end things with me too? So he goes into the pause. He's like, hello, there's no answer. So he's here thinking, oh my gosh, I was ghosted. He was actually not ghosted. She was just a little bit late. She says, you are the one for me. He's gassed. He's so excited. He falls to the floor. And I don't know if I've included clips of him falling to the floor, but this is the thing that Fabian does. He gets on the ground a lot. Fast forward to the reveal. I'm here thinking, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. She's so excited to see him. Like, this is great. When I tell you this girl turns into Angelica, the panic just flooded her body. And I was like, what's going on? What's happening? This man is on the floor ready to propose to this girl. And she's like, I can't do this. I thought I was ready. I'm not ready. This is all happening way too quickly. I just can't say yes to you. So yeah. It's unfortunate. I'm glad that she's staying true to her feelings. Don't force something that's just not there. But this man is broken. He goes back into his holding area. He's literally clutching his heart as if he can feel it breaking. I'm like, oh my gosh. I felt so bad for Fabian, but I also felt bad for Ellen because to have to do that to somebody who just feels so sincere, that has to hurt. But I'm glad she stayed true to herself. Don't force something, because that's how you get people being, jaded by love because somebody decided not to be honest with their feelings. Back to Daniel and Joanna. They are in the pause and she says, before I move forward, I have to be honest about something. I'm wondering why she took so long to say this. She says that conceiving might be difficult for her because she has a severe case of endometriosis. So if she can't conceive naturally or with the assistance of IVF, she wants to be with somebody who's open to adoption. Daniel says that's not a problem. We could try naturally, and if it doesn't work, I'm cool with adopting. I'm not somebody who's married to the idea of needing to have biological children. So she's happy about that. He proposes. She says yes. Fast forward to the reveal. It looked to me as if he was more into her than she was. Literally every time this man would kiss this girl, you see her pull back. You see her pull back every single time. And even when it was time for her to go to her holding area, she was so eager to separate from him. And I'm thinking, this is no bueno. This is not good. She does say that she's happy though. She says, this is the best jewelry I've ever gotten and it comes with a man. I don't know what kind of reassurance that's supposed to give, but yeah, to me, there was a lot of awkward energy. He was speaking a lot. She was just doing a lot of laughing. I don't think she's as into him as she's gonna make it seem. Fast forward to the honeymoons. I call them the honeymoons, but they're not honeymoons. The getaways. Yeah. They are in Corfu, Greece. And Rania wants to have a chat with Lars because she's feeling iffy about something, right? So she says when she read the notes, her panic set in because it felt like love bombing to her, right? So the note said, "You're an amazing woman and I love you." That was it. And from that note, she felt like, oh my gosh, I'm being love bombed. News flash, Rania, I hate to break it to you. You're on a show where the entire premise basically looks like love bombing. If she had such a fear about love bombing, Love is Blind was never supposed to be the show for her because it is an expedited process that ends in marriage. I do believe that Lars is laying it on thick, don't get me wrong, but she later on opens up about having a history of being love bombed. Then Love is Blind shouldn't have been the show that you signed up to be on. And the note wasn't even love bombing. You're an amazing woman and I love you. That's it? I don't know, girl. I don't know. So anyways, she tells him that she's open to have deep conversations, just not right now. She'll have them when she's ready. And in the meantime, they'll just keep things light. So yeah. The next day, Lars Eric tells Rania that when he prayed for a wife, he prayed for an exceptionally beautiful woman. And he got just that. And I'm thinking, that must have been it. That's all he prayed for. Because if you prayed for somebody who matched your morals, who matched your values, who had the same worldview as you, same, all these other things, you wouldn't have been with Rania. Also, not to say he would have been with Danette, but he definitely wouldn't have been with Rania. Angelica and Aaron talk about expectations in relationships. He says he values consistency. He wishes to be with somebody who is able to be themselves no matter what environment they are in. Now, this is interesting because since leaving the pods, Angelica feels like Aaron is a bit more smug than what she remembers. He has this phrase where he says, is that so? And it sounds like a little bit condescending, and she does not appreciate that. She lets him know too. She's like, by the way, I don't like that you say that. And then he responds by saying, is that so? So, Does the same man that said that people misunderstand him because of his appearance? I think it's more than that. But anyways, he says what he doesn't like about her is the fact that she's a chatterbox first thing in the morning. Love my husband, I do, but that man can talk in the morning. I need a second. I need a second to wake up. All right. So I understand you, Aaron. I understand. What they do like about each other is the fact that, she likes the fact that he's muscular. She likes how big he is. And she assures him that his size, not a problem. I said, oh, okay, Angelica. He says he loves that they were just so certain of each other so quickly. And he's honored that she had these feelings for him so early on. Lewig is chatting to Camila and he wants to know what her thoughts are on physical affection. She says she's not big on PDA. She thinks that couples that are overly touchy are very cringy. She actually finds them annoying. And so he's like, oh, well, that's going to be a problem because I'm very big on physical touch. And she says, I don't mind physical touch. It just has to be natural. When you're in this environment that facilitates, physical intimacy, you have to be cognizant of whether or not this is natural or if we're doing it because the environment calls for it. So she says she's going to take it easy in the physical department. I think it's because she don't like him, but she still hasn't said that. She's going to go a long time without saying that. I think that's what it is, but she's just not going to say it. Then we have Joanna and Daniel. She gives him a key. I'm not quite sure what the key was for. I feel like it was a house key. I don't quite remember. And then she also gets him an engagement ring and he is so gassed. He's like, I get to wear a ring too. I've realized lately that guys want engagement rings too. So yeah, that's something to think about for people who are getting engaged. Like, ask the guy if he wants one too, because he might say yes. On to the couples mixer. We have Camila, who was so excited to see her girls. The way she ran away from Lewig so quickly. I said, damn, you could even have the fact that you were not enjoying your time with him. My Lord. Anyways, then when Aaron arrives, here goes Rania, acting like she's from Madagascar. Y'all know that song, I like 'em big, I like 'em chunk. This girl was drooling over Aaron. She's like, he is so sexy. Look at him. That's a hunk of a man. Like she was going on and on about how attractive he was. She said this to Angelica. She was like googly eyes, drooling mouth over somebody else's fiancé. I said, girl, rein it in. On the other hand, you have Lars Eric. He's like, I don't see anybody but my fiancé. That's it. I don't have eyes for nobody else. Attractive women, don't see them. I only see Rania. Okay. Rania sees something else that she really, really likes. So Rania actually takes Aaron to the side and she asks him like, hey, are you ready to get married? Like, you're in this for real, for real? And he's like, yeah, I love that girl. I'm very serious about that girl. He asks her how she's feeling and she's like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It's taking me a minute. I'm dealing with some stuff and he's not helping. I've dealt with love bombing before and he's giving me similar energy. So Angelica is speaking to Lars Eric and she alludes to this whole love bombing thing. She doesn't get into it because Lars would rather hear that from Rania, but Rania, she barely speaks to this man, so he doesn't know what's going on with her. Rania says that she was in a previous relationship with somebody who was very affirming about their relationship. However, 2 months later, the man turned around and he said he never felt anything for her. Damn. So yeah, that'll do a number on you. Also, this is a reminder that we can't just be throwing love bombing everywhere, because one thing about me, I feel like the difference between love bombing and like somebody being genuine is time. So you might perceive something as love bombing, but they're actually being sincere. Like they're actually being sincere. And as time goes on, you realize, oh, okay, that wasn't love bombing. Love bombing is an actual manipulative tactic. And the man that she had dealt with was clearly manipulative. During the mixer, we have Joanna and Daniel, who are very touchy-feely. And Lewig is, he's kind of feeling away. He says he's happy for them, but he looks a little bit jealous. He claims that they don't have any big issues in their relationship, but we know that the lack of physical intimacy is something to be worried about, because like the girl doesn't even look his direction. Like it's more than just the physical. Like it looks like she can't stand him. She's not rude, but she just wants nothing to do with him, right? So he's talking to, was it Lars Eric? I feel like it was. And he says, yeah, I'm just concerned because she's never had a boyfriend. And I feel like that's the reason why she's not connecting with me in that way. I fear that's not the reason. If that soothes your heart, all right, but I fear that's not it. Somebody else who's in denial is Lars Eric. He's like, yeah, we don't have any issues either. Like things are peachy. Things are great. These two men look like lost puppies. I don't know where they go off thinking that we believe that there are no issues in their relationship. Like, everybody can see that you're imploding, sweetie. you're not hiding it very well. After the mixer, we have Lewig, who tells Camila that he needs more physical touch from her. You know what this girl does? She gets up from her lounge chair. She moves it further away from Lewig. Sits back in the chair and says nothing. I said, oh my God. Oh my, she hates you. And I don't even mean that facetiously. I think she hates him. Anyways, we also have Lars Eric. He said that he was going to tell Rania that he would appreciate if they would speak more because she's barely speaking to him. And in the speaking more, he also said that he needs more kisses. She didn't like that because she already told him she's not there yet. She needs a second for that connection to build. They go back and forth a little bit. She doesn't like the fact that he interrupts her too when they talk. They're just not really meshing, right? So she says she's coming in with baggage. He's coming in with baggage. They need to be cognizant of that baggage. He says it's important for you to open up to me about the things that you've experienced in the past because you're my partner. I need to know what emotions you're feeling. She feels reassured by that, and they do end up kissing. So there is some progress. I just don't think it's going to last very long. Lastly, we have Joanna and Daniel. Now, these two seemed very touchy-feely at the mixer, but for some reason, Joanna felt like they actually didn't connect as much as they could have at the mixer. She's like, yeah, well, she didn't say at the mixer. She just said that day. So maybe it was before or after the mixer, but for some reason, something just wasn't fully vibing with her. When she does have a chance to speak to Daniel, things are very surface level. And she calls that out and he doesn't really realize what she's saying. She's like, you don't really give me follow-up questions. Like, you're just kind of there. And he's like, yeah, well, whatever. And just goes on about his day. So then these two go on a date. And on this date, he's going on and on and on about flowers, right? He has this kind of flower, that kind of flower, flowers bloom in this way, this flower does this flower does that. So in an attempt to get a little deeper, she says that she used to plant sunflowers with her father, and that's one of the fond memories that she holds dear because, you know, he has since passed away. Can you imagine this man then says, oh, well, yeah, you can pick sunflowers at my golf course. The way he didn't acknowledge at all that that was a bid for connection. And number two, he could have sat in the moment a little more and asked her more about her dad or how she feels about the loss of her dad or any other memories she has with her. Nothing. This lady actually says she wants a deeper connection with him. Like, she wants more. It's not that she is like shutting him out or anything. She would love to be more physical, but the physical is hard when the emotional is not there. Then she calls over a producer. And she says to the producer, I'm feeling weird about this connection because before y'all came to get us, this man said I was ready to quit. I'm sorry? You're ready to quit, but then you're going to play in my face and the camera's face and act like everything's peachy keen with us? Like, what's happening? What's going on? Something is off with this man. And I should have known because from the first time I saw him, he gave me Sergio vibes. Y'all remember Sergio? Yeah. Oh, was Sergio from Germany? No, I feel like Sergio was the Swedish one. No, it could have been Germany. No, I think it was. Anyways, he reminded me of Sergio. And I was like, yeah, they both give like these shady vibes. I don't know what's up with Daniel, but yeah, Miss Girl is picking up on something, and I don't think that she's wrong. So later, we see that some old pod people are going to come back. Danette is coming back. I wanted to say Emma. Ellen is coming back. Hannah is coming back. So those three storylines are going to be quite interesting. We also see that Rania is going to be at odds with Lars Eric's family because of the whole religion thing. Oh, surprise, surprise. What a shocker. Honestly, I'm so intrigued to know what people on Love is Blind think when they're in those pods, because the same issues they have in the pods are the issues that present themselves in real life. Like, what's this girl's name? What's your name, girl? Joanna's here confused about the lack of depth, but that was an issue in the pods. It's almost like he showed you who he was and you just didn't believe it. Like, don't know what to tell you, sister, but hey, we'll see where things go. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.